So, salute to Shaq. Salute to his family. You know, it's interesting. I believe we actually have talked about a parenting topic or so that involves Shaq. I believe he said something to
Yeah,
the
we talked
effect
about
previous.
multiple.
Yeah, it's definitely the first time. I think he might have been on record before saying like he's not the handout type of parent. Like they got to work for or something to that effect, which makes this clip in particular seem interesting. So
I
obviously,
think he said
go ahead.
like this is not your house or this is my house. This is not our house or something like that.
No, I think it was like we are not rich. I'm rich or something like this.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think that was
I
it.
think that was the similar quote, and again, it makes this interaction all the more interesting. So, um, how should I start off? Well, first of all, if you don't know, Shaq does be one of if not the most famous. I guess Michael Jordan's will always the most famous. One of the most famous basketball players of all time. He has his own little reality docu series right now, Power Moves, on Netflix. And another thing that comes to mind is I think we can all imagine um, the mentality of a young brother or sister growing up when your parent is again one of the greatest of all time. There's always going to be that natural inclination of like, oh, so this is where I should follow as well, follow in as well, especially if you have the dimensions, and as it pertains to like basketball. And I would see, there are definitely a lot of basketball parents. Obviously, in modern day, you have the Brons and the Bronnies. You have Carmelo Anthony, his son. I was just watching a clip the other day of Rondo's son, and everyone was saying they play just like him. And that type of stuff is just so dope when you can see like when you can have a child that follows in your footsteps, no matter what aspect of life you're involved with. Obviously, provided something productive. But I think we can also see the other side of things where if you were great at something and you do have someone that's trying to follow in your footsteps, you're probably going to advise them on the way you should go about it and or give them the lowdown of the things you'll have to expect. But Shaq has pretty much damn near the inverse advice or like reality on this type of thing. Um, and he starts off by saying, or quoted by saying, "If you want to be great, you gotta sacrifice everything." But I want to know what you guys think about how he really kind of breaks it down and basically kind of dissuading, if you will. I don't want to spoil it, but play it and let me know what you guys think. Again, apologies in advance for the quality. The audio is the most important part, and the link will be in the description below.
Been looking good. Been talking to the coaches and all that.
You training?
Yeah, every day.
You trying to go to training camp?
Yeah. Actually, I got invited to try out for the Kings.
Alright. But we don't need basketball. I've been around this game since '89, buddy. I've seen it all. You gotta understand that in that life, you have to give everything up, right?
Mm-hmm.
How many birthday parties did I miss?
A lot.
How many school plays did I miss?
A lot.
How many times you wake up and not see me there?
A lot. And my dad missed birthdays, games, Christmas. I respect it now. I know when I was a kid, we always used to ask, is Dad going to be here? We kind of knew that, okay, he's playing basketball, he's busy. I know every NBA player as a family misses a lot of things that they wish they could go to.
Are you ready to live that life? Because if you want to be great, my man, you got to sacrifice everything. I've lost a family trying to be great. Mm-hmm. It's great at the end because I can help y'all become great, but you got to make sure this is really what you want. Because if you're not going to put 1,000% into it, I say let's just take Reebok over and get us back to number one. I don't want him to play because it will be unfortunate for him that they will compare him to me, similar to what Bronny James is going through now. Unfair to him, and I don't really want him to go through that. And what he doesn't realize about me is I was crazy. Basketball's the only thing I cared about. It did jeopardize our relationship a little bit, and I don't want him to ever have to live like that. Everything comes back to the O'Neal name.
It's a blessing that people are expecting great things out of me just because of the family I come from. So I gotta look at it in that way. I think he kind of understands that this is what being in your young 20s is about, is decision making and learning what you want to do, learning where you fit in. So well, I'm going to try out for the team, and if they offer me a spot, then I've got a lot to think about. I don't really have a plan B.
So, like I said, obviously we all know Shaq and his legacy. So it definitely is some gravity to when he's speaking about you know, everything that comes with it. And I think what that person might not know, obviously, I think generally people understand to be great, you do have to sacrifice. But when he breaks it down and says, I wasn't there for birthdays, I wasn't there for those holidays, I wasn't there for some school stuff. Like he damn near said, alludes to the fact that his family, he's not close to his literal family because of the levels that you know, he wanted to be at and he was at. So I think I'm curious to you guys take on this. Like, I think we can start to understand why you would be like, I don't know if another person want to take this route. But it's just interesting hearing that from a parent to child perspective, especially when their child seemingly really wants to pursue this. Like, it's like obviously they're grown ass men, but I think we all know that sentiment of like when you're going to your pops and like, yeah, I just got this job is hot is offering me something, and I think I really wanted to do it, and like he's hyped, and I think it would be super. He was looking forward to that, like, yeah, like I'm behind you all the way if you want to do this, but his pops gave him that reality. Is like, eh, I don't know if you want to do that. Um, so yeah, I'm curious to know what you guys think watching this clip, and especially in the relation of like when it comes to like a parent and child, or I'll say child, even though we don't understand this is for older folks, parent and child dynamic. Do you think it makes sense? Would you call it like effective, productive, maybe even good parenting to discourage children from difficult career paths, and life choices, even though you've participated in that type of reality? Do you guys think that makes sense? I'll start with you, Ace. What do you think?
I mean, yeah, I think it makes sense almost particularly in terms of the NBA and like um
Sports,
sports
maybe in
in
general.
general. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because I mean, I think he's past the point where it's like, you know, there's only so many people that get into the NBA. Like I don't think that's necessarily the concern for him at this point in particular, especially that has a team asking him to try out. But um, like obviously Shaq articulated how much he had to sacrifice just in terms of being there for his family, but also the toll it takes on your body, um, and whatever else, the mental. Like there's there's a lot more that goes into um, being a professional athlete that it can take a serious toll on your life. So in that way, like I didn't I wasn't expecting to hear Shaq say this, but when you hear him say it, it's like, oh yeah, it's obvious. Like of course this would be the perspective of somebody that's already been through it and talking to their son. And at the same time, you do have LeBron's son who apparently LeBron uh, endorse his kids going, becoming professional athletes. But at the same time, yeah, it makes sense that there would be parents who would have this perspective of like, nah, you don't. There's other things, especially like there's other things we can do. You have you have the O'Neal name, and that isn't only good for like basketball. Like you can do a lot more um, that wouldn't have to take the same toll on your life uh, as
Basketball.
basketball would.
Yeah.
So I get it in like 100%.
Fair enough. Yeah, I think when you listen to how Shaq is speaking, it definitely has a lot of sincerity into it. And again, who better to kind of speak to this than him? Um, Again, I can see the other side of it. So like, I mean, obviously, Shaq would agree that we need great basketball players. So it's kind of interesting to still hear him kind of dissuade somebody. That's, I mean, if coaches are hitting him up, then why? There's a world in which why wouldn't you push your child or push somebody towards, um, a chance to be really really great?
You want your child to have a good life. Like you don't want you want your child to have a
I
good
mean,
life,
a good
and you
life.
don't want them to suffer like you suffer. I think that's what most parents aspire to. And Shaq, he sees that suffering in being a professional athlete. Yeah, being a professional basketball player.
Yeah, but that's gonna come with any aspect of wanting to be great in life.
You
Like
could suffer at a 9 to 5.
yeah, because
But that,
doctors,
I
I'm
don't
sure
think that's what
doctors
Yeah,
Shaq
like
would
no,
necessarily.
that are just on
That,
call all the time. I'm sure they quote unquote suffer to some degree. Going back to what we're talking about, you guys are talking
but
about
that's not.
suffering.
Hold up, hold up.
Remember,
We're talking about Shaquille O'Neal, Shaq. Like the name he has and the things that his son can get into, like the business moves that he can make, just based on the name alone, vastly outweighs like the he's gonna have to work a 9 to 5 and he might suffer. Like of course there's gonna be struggles in life in general, but Shaq in particular knows the guaranteed struggles that are going to come with an athletic career, as opposed to the other things that he can get into that will not require that same amount of sacrifice, especially you know if injuries is always a big thing. It's like okay, now you got injured in your first year, and not only would that have an effect on your body, of course, but the mental of like, well, I was comparing myself to my dad this whole time, and now that my body won't even let me, become and fulfill that thing that I had in my mind. Like the amount of mental, toll that that could take. Like I think I think weighing all of that is or Shaq is weighing all of that in his mind, and it's probably not something that he has to do. Like he had to really think about too deeply. It's probably something he's been thinking about his entire life, type thing. Or seeing his son come up anyway. It's like it's just obvious to him.
that comparison aspect is something that we could delve into more. I don't want to take too much out on this, and when like everyone's speaking, we move on to the topics. But at the same time, I mean, that could always rear its head. Like you said, you brought up a good example where could continue to be comparing themselves. But what if they go down a route of being a businessman? Now I'm comparing just like, can I be successful as my father? Like, there's always gonna be some always a potentiality for a comparison thing. I don't know if that should completely be the deciding factor for the choices you make in life. Like, you should obviously do something that you feel are more than comfortable with pursuing. Um,
Yeah, I'll give you
but
that. Yeah, yeah.
but how about you, Ghost? I'm curious to know your take on this. What do you think of someone like Shaq giving this advice to a child? Do you think that's healthy, productive parenting to discourage them from difficult career paths like that?
Um, I don't. I think it's kind of a case by case thing. Like, I think what's healthy parenting is you want what is best for your child and
Yeah,
unconditionally.
but we know
And
sometimes the parent's idea for what's best for your child is not the quote unquote best for your child.
yeah, and I think giving your child advice or giving them reality that they or perspective they might not have considered is what's the good parenting. It's not necessarily about if you tell them they should or shouldn't pursue something.
Hmm.
So I think in this case, like Shaq is giving his perspective and his take, his ideas of what of the drawbacks of if he does want to get into this, what it could entail. I think that is fundamentally is good parenting. As far as like dissuading him from joining the NBA potentially, I don't know. I think it can be somewhat easy to look back at something that you do and see only the negatives that it brought, just because that's kind of how people are wired in general. We kind of look for the negatives in things versus the positives. And I think like if this was a father who was like worked like a construction job or something that was really demanding and it's not as nearly as prestigious as being an NBA player, he might have the exact opposite advice of pursue this because you could become a millionaire potentially and you'd be set for life. I think a lot of it comes down to perspective and what what the parent I think what the parent thinks the child should value will have a lot of impact on the advice they give, which isn't necessarily a good or a bad thing. But I think it comes down to knowing your child, knowing if they're equipped to pursue whatever path is out in front of them, even if it's a difficult one, and giving them the advice that you think they need to hear to make the correct decision for themselves. So I'm I'm not gonna say if Shaq telling him that being in the NBA is or maybe avoiding that path is the right or wrong decision. I just think it's just so difficult to tell your child like what they should be doing because again, Shaq has given them the negative aspect of it where yeah, you're gonna miss out on a lot of family time. You're gonna miss out on a lot of opportunities to be there for your kids and stuff like that. But on the flip side, if it ends up panning out, you you're missing out on that time when they're young. Let's say if he has a 10-year NBA career, just throwing that number out there. And then after that, he's able to retire permanently and be with his kids all the time. I mean, that might be worth the trade off versus having like a typical job. Obviously, in this case, as we established, you got the Shaq as your father. You're not going to be stuck at Walmart being a cashier or something. But I don't know. I think there's definitely different trade-offs in certain aspects of whatever you do end up doing, and it really just depends on or it comes down to what do you value, what do your parents value, and what do they think you should value, and that will have a big impact on the advice that they give. So in this case, I think end of the day, I think yeah, it's good advice he gave, but not the content, but more so the reason why he gave it.
And that makes a lot of sense. And I think it's meaningful how you are viewing it because while we are generally talking about this in the context of like general like how should parents go about or how parents should go about advising their kids and how kids should receive it. I think it is super important to understand that a lot of this is case by case and based on the context of that respective family, what their values are. Like you said, what they think, what they perceive that people should value. So that, like I said, that makes a lot of sense. And then last but not least, Wes, what do you think of this type of interaction? Think in general, you think it makes more sense than not that a parent would try to push their child away from difficult career paths and life choices, even if they've been involved with them?
I think a significant piece of this is that Shaq said he essentially lost a family. I don't know if he had a first marriage, and maybe this kid is from the first. I don't know his history, but I think he was. But either way, he essentially lost his family due to the career he had in basketball. And so I think that yes, as Ghost said, it's extremely colored by his own experience. Um, but I think that's a significant thing that should be expressed because, and as Ace was saying, you want your kid to have a good life, but you want your kid to have a better life than you. If you know that you had a family that you messed up because of your career path, I can 100% understand not telling a kid, be careful because this is what you're going to have to sacrifice. This is what you're up against. And I think like that's
Would you
the,
tell them I don't think you should do it though?
you should tell them you got to be ready for this, like you told them. Either,
Yeah, but he also kind of heavily leaning towards like we got other options. I would
yeah,
say.
I think what he said made perfect sense for the life that he lived and for the career that he is in. And I think it is applicable more broadly across the sports world um, in achieving, a certain level. Plus, of course, there's a comparison aspect. But the fact that I mean, I think any parent would be devastated to see their child lose their family because of their career choice, especially if they had other opportunities. That would be devastating. It's not like it's not like he was Shaq, who I don't know his upbringing, but Shaq doesn't come from a wealthy family, I don't believe. And so he didn't come from basketball royalty. So the opportunities open to him weren't even the same. So I think knowing that there's other opportunities to pursue, are possible to pursue, that would potentially have less risk on his family life, not just his career life, not just this is not just, oh, you're gonna have it hard, you're gonna struggle. It's you're going to or you have a potential of losing a family. Like that's more devastating than suffering at a 9 to 5, suffering at a whatever. I think for me, like the idea uh of having those family relationships be broken because of your commitment to the sport, especially like I said, knowing that he had other opportunities, that's Shaq would be very I think he'd be very sad in that situation. And that's part of why he counseled him the way he did. And that's part of why I think it was correct to counsel him that way. So yeah, I mean, I think it all makes sense. And I think he said something about Reebok. I don't know if that was like getting into the business side of Reebok and as one of the potential paths, but I completely
Yeah,
hear it.
he's
Plus,
trying to lead his son down that Jordan route. Basically, take over that brand and really bring it up to some high level of relevancy.
which makes sense to me because also there's the youth piece of it. Like he seems like he got a good head on his shoulders, but he also seems I don't know from this video, like, but also he seems a little bit starry eyed. Like he doesn't have all the elements, and when you're at that age, you need to be shaken a little bit and to say, "Hey, this is serious. Like
I think more
you're
so
getting
grounded
into
is probably
something."
a good way to look at it.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like he said, he doesn't have a plan B, and it's not his fault. Like I'm not saying but you just don't know what you don't know, and even though he understands, he can articulate. Okay, my dad, yeah, he wasn't around, and I can understand now, and I can appreciate the sacrifice he made. He still might need this type. I mean, if Shaq thinks he needs to hear it as his father, I'm sure he needs to hear it. And yeah, I think the delivery makes sense. I think the delivery makes sense.
Sorry, I was just double checking something. Um, I think it might
Plus, I
be.
think the difficulty of being great, like I think that piece of it is important too. In anything, like if you're gonna be great, you're going to have to put aside most of your time, and people don't always comprehend what that means.
Yeah, I definitely yeah. What you're saying, I don't think anyone would dispute that. Um, and in general, when it comes to doing something at a high ceiling, it is super beneficial to get game from those who've been in it, and take whatever they say for not a grain of salt. I guess the opposite of that. Take like really no matter what choices you make, and really make sure you do sit with that because Shaq is out from experience, and he was the product of some of that experience. So, um, Yeah, Uh, it definitely from our perspective, and maybe even sitting at the table, it definitely is always gonna feel kind of I don't want to say painful. Is you're gonna feel that gut feeling, that sink in your stomach to when you're getting that kind of like negative like. And I know you want to do this, but maybe it's not the best move. But it's definitely advice that you gotta take in consideration, especially when you are kind of younger and you might not know all the ins and outs of it. But yeah, again, from our side perspective, it might sound kind of like, dang, that's negative, but it's real. Salute to Shaq, salute to his family. Um, yeah, I'll be. I guess I'll potentially be looking at. I think this is relatively new. Yes, I'll be looking out to see if his brother star is on the Kings in the next coming seasons. uh, um, but if there's nothing else, we can move on to the next topic.